Hi, first graders. So today in math, you're going to be working on your Chapter 9 math workbook, which is measurement. Yesterday should have been your first day of working in that workbook, and we're on Chapter 9, Lesson 7. And it's all about telling time. And not just telling time on a clock that tells you, that's called a digital clock. We're going to look at telling time on what's called an analog clock with the hands and all the numbers that go around. So let's listen to our essential question for today and go ahead and get started.
How do you tell time to the half hour on a clock that has only an hour hand?
So we're going to be telling time to the half hour. So let's go ahead and get started.
Well, hello! Welcome to the yard. Something exciting is going to happen here later today. That's right! Some of the kids in the neighborhood are going to play soccer. And we're going to watch. Right, Belle? Click the soccer ball to see what time the game starts. That's great! Thank you. So now we know that the game will start at 1:30. Oh dear. I'm afraid I may have forgotten how to read that time on a clock. And I don't think Belle knows either. But we can learn more about clocks. Then we'll figure out how to read this time on a clock. Come on, let's go learn some more.
So friends, before we move on, I wanted to make sure you understood 1:30 is the same thing as the time 1:30. So we don't usually talk like that and say the game is at 1:30, but we would say the game is at 1:30. So let's go ahead and see how we're going to learn to read clocks.
Here's a clock with only an hour hand. A clock face shows the numbers 1 through 12 in order. Starting here. Look at the hour hand on the clock. Which choice best describes the time shown? 6 o'clock. Between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Or 7 o'clock. The hour hand points to the 6. Click the time shown on the clock. So it's 6 o'clock. Here's another clock. Look at its hour hand. Which choice best describes the time shown on this clock? 6 o'clock, between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, or 7 o'clock? Click the time shown on the clock. The hour hand points between the 6 and the 7. So it's between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Here's one more clock. Look at the hour hand. Which choice best describes the time shown? 6 o'clock, between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, or 7 o'clock? Click the time shown on the clock. The hour hand points to the 7. So it's 7 o'clock. How could you describe the movement of the hour hand on the clocks from one to the next? The hour hand starts at the 6, moves between the 6 and the 7, and then moves to the 7. The hour hand moves around the clock to measure time as it passes.
So friends, I want to explain a few things before we move on. First, I know that this is not what a real clock looks like. Usually it has two hands. One hand is called the hour hand, and it points to the hour. That's this hand right here. And one hand is called the minute hand, and it tells us how many minutes there are in the hour. But right now, to help us learn about clocks, we're just going to look at one hand at a time. So we're learning to look for this hour hand to see which number it's pointing at, and that will tell us what hour we're in. So when the hour hand points right down at 6, it's 6 o'clock. When the hour hand is between 6 and 7, it's between 6 and 7 o'clock. And when the hour hand is pointing at 7, it's 7 o'clock. Okay? So all we want you to understand is that the hour hand moves around the clock as time passes, because time is always passing. And the hour hand will help you figure out what time it is by you seeing what number it's pointing at.
What time does this clock show? The hour hand is between 9 and which other number?
So let's go ahead and look, just like we talked about. The hour hand is between 9 and 10. So that means right now this clock is showing some time between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock.
Right. The hour hand is between 9 and 10. So the time is between what time and 10 o'clock?
So the time is between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock.
Great job! The time is between the hours of 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. As an hour passes, the hour hand on a clock moves from one number to the next. When a half hour has passed, the hour hand points halfway between two numbers. In this clock, the hour hand is halfway between the 9 and the 10. You can say this time as 9:30 o'clock. Now let's practice with the personal math trainer.
Okay, it says, Tim plays soccer at 10:30. He eats lunch at 12:30. He sees a movie at 1:30. Look at the clock. Select what Tim does at the time shown on the clock. So remember, you guys, we're going to look and see what numbers the hour hand is pointing between to help us figure it out. Okay, so let's look at the clock first. I see it pointing between the 1 and the 2. So that means this is showing a time 1:30. Okay? So let's see, what does he do at 1:30? He sees a movie at 1:30. So let's select sees a movie and check our answer.
Good job!
All right, I think we're ready to go ahead. In your math workbook, you are going to see that it begins on page 549, and you're going to see some clocks. Let's go ahead and read what they're asking us to do today. It says, circle 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or between 4 and 5 o'clock to describe the time shown on the clock. So all you're going to do is look and see where the hour hand is pointing. So let's look. I see it pointing right at the 4 here. So you're going to take your pencil and we're going to circle 4 o'clock, okay? Because the hour hand is pointing right at the 4. Now let's look. What do we see here? I see it in between 4 and 5. So we're going to circle between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And on the last one, sorry, Mrs. Myers needs to scoot down, and then my stuff is going to be in the way. You guys go ahead and look at the clock while I'm erasing. Is it pointing at the 4 for 4 o'clock, between 4 and 5 o'clock, or at 5 o'clock? Well, what I see is 5 o'clock because it's pointing right at the 5. So that was easy peasy. You just have to look at that hour hand to see what it's pointing at, and it will help you figure out the rest. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what you're going to be doing on the next 2 pages and then leave you to it. So at the top it just says, as an hour passes, the hour hand moves from one number to the next number. And it moves just like we count. When a half hour has passed, The hour hand points halfway between two numbers. So if you look at this clock, the hour hand is halfway between the 7 and the 8, so we would say it's 7:30. So here, you're just going to write half past whatever time it is. So here, let's see. I see that it's between the 1 and the 2. So I would write half past. Whoops, kind of hard to write letters with this, so my handwriting is not the greatest. Half past 1 o'clock. Okay? And you guys will look at numbers 2, 3, and 4 to figure out the same thing. Now, all of these are going to be half past some time, okay? So you're going to start each one of those with half past and then read the hour hand and the clock to figure out what time it's half past. You're going to continue to do the same thing down here on 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you can do number 9 to figure out the story problem. If you're feeling ready for a challenge, you can go on to page 552, but all you really need to complete is 551, 550, and 549. I'm going to leave you guys for now. Happy time telling in your math learning today, and I will see you again soon. Bye, first grade friends.